Hello, everybody, um, and welcome to the WaterWatch and EstuaryWatch website walkthrough. I'm Justine Holmes, the WaterWatch and EstuaryWatch facilitator for Victoria, and over the past year, I've been working on upgrading the website, and I'm really excited to be here with you to walk you through it. The main purpose of this webinar is to show you the new parts of the website, and I also want to hear from you if you're having any problems. So I'm going to start off first with the front-facing website, which is the really pretty part, and then we're going to have a look at the portal as well, which is also pretty, but just showing a lot of the data. I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. The Corangamite Catchment Management Authority works on the lands, waters and seas of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and the Kirawurrung, Jagadwurrung, Gulidjan and the Gardabunud people of the Maar Nation, and acknowledge them as the traditional owners. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and today I'm coming to you from Wadawurrung country in Torquay. So I'd also like to introduce two people who have made this website possible. And I'm not sure if Paul is here, but I'll tell you a little bit about Paul. Paul Feely has been managing the portal from a technical perspective for over 10 years from the Centre for E-Research and Digital Innovation, also known as CERDI, and he's worked closely with me to improve it. And he is here to answer any technical questions that I might have problems with. But I'm not sure if you're here, Paul. Are you? Raise your hand if you're here. Maybe he'll come in a bit later. And the other special guest I have is David Tiller, who you can see now. David has done a huge amount of volunteer work along with his friend and colleague Leon Metzeling on the portal in providing a grading system for the sites where there is enough data. And David has been a volunteer for over 15 years on the WaterWatch program, and before retiring had a really long career as an aquatic scientist with the EPA. And if you Google David, you'll see all of the work and the papers that he's written. So he's also been a huge help in helping the North Central CMA with their reporting and data interpretation, and also a huge help to me in my role to try and better understand the water quality across the state. So that's David there. You can see up on your screen. So I'm going to start with showing you, actually I should probably tell you, at the moment we are all on mute and the cameras are off, but if you have a question, just raise your hand or you can pop it in the chat. And I'll also let you know that Zoe is here. She works on the comms team for Corangamite Catchment Management Authority, and she's going to help field any of the questions. Thanks, Zoe. So I'm going to share my screen with you. And let's see if we can have a look at this new website. David, can you see my screen okay there? Can everyone see? Okay, fantastic. So here is the new WaterWatch and EstuaryWatch. I'm calling this the front-facing website. And you can see that it has a brand new, fresh look. And really the homepage is about letting new people know briefly what is our WaterWatch and EstuaryWatch program. It invites people to become volunteers, to have a look at what questions we have about the program. And it's really tidbits about the projects so people can get a really quick understanding. I don't know if I'm scrolling too fast there, but this is a really great fresh upgrade which brings this website up to date. And I'm going to scroll quickly to the bottom of the page. If you haven't already, we have a newsletter that you can sign up to, and it's at the bottom of all of the pages on the website. And I encourage you to join the mailing list, and I send out a seasonal newsletter every 4 months. So as we walk along the top of the page here, we have a great about page now where you can have a look at the staff who are working across our projects in the state for EstuaryWatch and WaterWatch. We've got a whole team of people working at Melbourne Water. We have Julia Cirillo working at Merri Creek Management Committee, Britt Gregory, who's at North Central CMA, myself, I'm the state facilitator, Tash in West Gippsland. We have Beck at Corangamite CMA. Georgie also works at CMA. Georgie, you've got to send me through your photo. Jared at Glenelg Hopkins. Nigel, who's also in Melbourne at Manningham City Council. And we have someone at Goulburn Broken, Sue Kosh, and also Northeast CMA works in partnership with Wangaratta, and that's Vanessa, who's the environmental officer out there, and also Jane Pett, who's our EstuaryWatch project officer in Melbourne. So you can now see our projects, which are really nicely listed. And if you go onto a project page, you can have a look at what the project is about and find extra information. And there is a link to our Frog Month Victoria project and a webinar there. So they're all listed really nice and neatly. We have this really gorgeous volunteer page now where we can learn about our volunteers. We have some really lovely stories about a volunteer, Irene from Melbourne, who's done 20 years of dedication. Just really heartwarming stories here about all of the amazing efforts from across the state. Love this photo of Neil on the Anglesea River here. Now we are going to do a bit of a deep dive on the data after this, but this is where you can find the data portal here if you move across to data. And you can find the WaterWatch data portal here and the EstuaryWatch data here. And after this button, we have news, so you can find our newsletters really easily. This is all pretty straightforward. We have a frequently asked questions page where you can find a little bit more about citizen science, EstuaryWatch and WaterWatch catchments. And if there's any questions on this page that you think would be really useful for you, if you're a new person to the program or an existing volunteer, please pop it in the chat and I'd love to put it on this page. We also have some fantastic resources. The annual reports are available. Not sure if anybody reads that apart from me. We have public resources which are really helpful, and something that David helped put together was the Interpreting River Health Data WaterWatch Victoria Guide, where you can learn about it's a great way to see how the waterways can look and what they're looking like at the moment, and exploring, and it's the exploration and interpretation of data across the state, which is a really great document. And we also have that for EstuaryWatch as well. So if you are an existing WaterWatch or EstuaryWatch person, you can log into the portal using these buttons at the top. So it's all pretty straightforward on the front-facing website. So what I might do is just see, are there any questions that have come up yet? I'll just have a look in the chat. No, I don't think we have got any questions. Okay, I'll go back to walking you through the portal part now. So what I'd like to do is start with the WaterWatch data portal. And if I just click on that button there, we now have this really great function for WaterWatch and EstuaryWatch that allows you to have better functionality on how you're searching. And there is a few different ways you can do this. If you're looking for waterways, I have a button here that says use my location. So this actually doesn't work because I'm on my work computer and we don't have exact locations, but I'm in Torquay at the moment. So if I hit use my location, I think it comes up with, it actually comes up with Melbourne, but if I was in Torquay, all these Torquay sites would come up. So we won't, that one's not quite working so well on my work computer, but on a personal computer, if you've got your location settings set correctly, you will come up with all the sites around you. If I scroll over here, this says search by suburb, town or postcode. So if I try searching for Torquay, let's have a look at what comes up. All right, we can see that I've got a map of Torquay and all of the WaterWatch and estuary sites within 15 kilometres of Torquay. And what's really great is we now have this list of sites close to Torquay down here. On the left, we can see that these sites are active because they've got this active green button here. So active means that they've had data collected within the last 6 to 12 months. We can see here that this site has had 13 visits, and Spring Creek at the Swinging Tree, I can see this is a WaterWatch site here if I go over to the right. But below this, let's have a look. We can see, I'm really interested in finding spots that have more visits. So this is 127 visits. and it's an EstuaryWatch site. And if I click on that, it takes us to that site where we can see the data is displayed. But I'll go through how the data is displayed in a moment. I just want to finish explaining the search buttons. So another way you can search for a waterway is perhaps by its name. So if I have a look at Wye River, I go down there for holidays, I wonder what's happening with Wye River. If I pop that in the search button, I can see that Wye River Estuary has come up. Okay, and I can see it's active. And so that's the EstuaryWatch site, but there's also Wye River, which is a WaterWatch site, which has 130 visits. And you can see that there's a button here that says WQ indicators, and this is water quality indicators. And this means that this site has got a water quality rating, which is a work that David Tiller has done, and it'll be rated good, moderate, poor, or very poor. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So what I'll do is I'm going to click on this Wye River, and let's go and investigate what Wye River is looking like. So here is Wye River Upper above the Big Four Caravan Park, and it's in the Otway Coast catchment. So we can see that there are these sites all along Wye River. On the right-hand side, the data is beautifully charted. It's instantly charted. But if you would like to change the date range here, which we've got currently from 2014 to 2025, I might think, oh, I just want to check for the last couple of years and see what that looks like. You can see that those charts aren't so cramped and they're easier to have a look at. We can also have a look at this level 1 minimum data standard up here. So if you want to look at all of the data, level 1 means that data from schools will be included. But if you go up to level 3, that's more higher quality data. So that would be from volunteers who are going out monitoring regularly and they've had quite a lot of training. So if you want high quality data, you would select level 3. But if you can't remember this, don't worry, because across from a lot of these functions is an Explain for Me button. And we can see here that the standards that we've just spoken about are all explained there. And as I scroll down on this page, you can see that there's Explain for Me buttons against all of the parameters. So for pH, if you're not sure what that is, you can click on that and it tells you what it is, why it's important, what it means, and how it's measured. We have on the left here some beautiful photos of Wye River, downstream, across stream, and upstream. If their water bugs have been collected at a particular site, they will be displayed here. And if I scroll down, this is our showstopper here. And this is what is called the water quality indicators. And as you can see for Wye River, on average, from 2020 to 2025, we can see that the dissolved oxygen was poor, pH was good, upper and lower, electrical conductivity was moderate, turbidity was good, and we can see reactive phosphorus was very poor. And this is the work that David has done. And there is an explanation here if you get confused about how we have arrived at these indicators. But what I'll do now is throw to you, David, and if you could explain about these water quality indicators and how you have been able to do this across the state.
Certainly. Is my sound coming through, Justine?
Yeah, it's coming through. Would you like me to close my screen? Would you like to have this screen showing or?
No, I don't need that.
Okay, I'll stop sharing.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, when we decided to do these levels, it's primarily because otherwise there's these things called environmental reference standards, which have been set up by the government through the EPA, which tell you basically that a stream is healthy or not healthy. And what we really wanted was know, okay, well, a lot of streams aren't going to meet that, so therefore they're not healthy, but how unhealthy were they? So that was the aim that we had, Leon Metzling and myself had, and in talking to Justine, decided this was a really good idea to put into the portal so people could see it, because it's basically providing some interpretation of the data. You're not just seeing data on its own. I think Leon and I had a good handle on doing this because I think it must be 30 years we've been writing up what are the equivalent of the environmental reference standards, which used to be called SEPP, statewide objectives, from mid-90s odd. And Leon was heavily involved in the development of the current reference standards. So we thought, how are we going to do this? And it's relatively straightforward because there's a massive amount of data that's been collected by EPA and the state government for analysing just the health of the systems around the place. And those, sorry, something's popped my screen. I'll get rid of. Those data that were collected have been used to develop the RSs. And what Leon did when he did that was he did some tiers within that of the data. The really high quality data and less so quality data, and that was sort of important. But you have to remember this is from sites that are relatively good, so they didn't represent sites that we might call very poor, for example. So we had data, we had these tiers which tell us a little bit about what's not quite healthy. And the next thing we have is a lot of information out there on what we call cause-effect data. In other words, harmful levels of data, harmful levels of water quality and that. So, and all this, I must add, this is all related to rivers and streams. We haven't done it for estuaries. Probably could. It would take a little bit more effort, and there's probably getting enough data, but that's something for the future that we'll be looking at, no doubt. And we would not be able to do wetlands and lakes. It just isn't the information, the data out there to do this. So with the ERS numbers, the tiered information the EPA had, and the harmful effects, we set up these levels and what we're doing. And it's quite easy in some ways to do. The healthy is ERS, the unhealthy is the harmful, things that really do affect the bugs and beasties and fish that are out there. And for example, go to pH. We know really conclusively just about everywhere that a pH less than 5 is going to be pretty much harmful. So if you look at those levels that we have, you'll see that mostly it's less than 5 or 5.5, where we say if it's less than that, then it's poor. Sorry, very poor. And however, there is a little caveats there, because there is actually a place in the state called the Grampians, which naturally has low pH, and it has healthy bug communities, healthy fish, and so on. Why it's low is probably because of all the vegetation, all the grass plains and that, and all the swamps that are there putting in low pH waters into it. And so if you look at the levels for the Grampians for pH, you'll see that it's lower than the rest of the state, recognising that. Now, the same thing with something like conductivity. In the east of the state, the mountains, conductivity is really low. It's rarely above 500 EC. In the west of the state, though, it'll get up to several thousand, 3,000, 4,000, naturally in the dry parts of the year. So the levels that we produced are quite different from the mountains, the east of the state compared to the west. And you'll see there that the harmful levels in the west would be, 4,000, say 4,000 EC, microsiemens per centimetre, because the animals out there and the vegetation are quite capable of taking that level of salinity, sometimes only for a short period of time, short period being a season, sometimes for much longer. So we've done all this using the data, using the harmful effects, and I think that they're fairly robust numbers. We tried doing this way back when we wrote the data interpretation manual, not very successfully because there wasn't the information out there. So, but you'll see in the data interpretation manual that there are some levels in that, usually only 3, and not for all indicators. So I think it's pretty robust method. and the results, I think, will stand up. No doubt, though, they will probably evolve over time as we get more data and information. I think that's enough at the moment. Any questions, though?
Justine, I'm not sure if it's related to what you've just spoken about, David, but there was a question in the chat from Nicole Howie.
Yes.
Did you want to address that now?
Yeah, I can see that. It's not so much related to what David has spoken about, but it's about the search codes for river detectives. So, Nicole, are you saying that you would prefer to have, so you can see which sites were river detectives, so it's easier for you to find them? Hang on. Let me unmute you.
Yes, if possible, Justine. I just wondered, is that something that kicks in once I log in with my higher delegation login, or is that not available to see clearly?
Yeah, so the data portal, which is available for everybody, we can't see which sites are only river detectives. So that is something that I could definitely take into consideration. And I can talk to you more about that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that another time.
All right. Thanks, Nicole. Were there any questions about the rating system? And maybe I can just share my screen again, just so you can have another look at what it looks like. I don't think we've got any more questions, David.
Fair enough.
Thank you. I'll keep
Pleasure.
I'll keep talking about estuaries now. And I forgot to show you this diary entries. So we can see at the bottom of Wye River, we can see diary entries, which is just these incredible photos of what's happening on the river. And I would like to encourage you all to use the events button if you are an existing volunteer. So if you're seeing anything or unusual, or if there's any fish kills or the water quality is unusual, please use the events button, because we can log back into the portal and the general public can see if there's anything of interest that's been happening. Now, sorry to be scrolling so quickly. I'm going to go back and show you how to look for estuaries. So you could also do the same thing looking for estuaries. So on the Find My Waterway page, sorry, if I go back to the home page and you want to have a look for estuaries, you can go to data and click the EstuaryWatch data button, but you can also find estuaries using the WaterWatch data button too. So I'm going to have a look, probably shift over to Gippsland now and have a look at Powlett River. And you can see I've just popped in Pow and Powlett River has come up, and anything with Powlett River in it has come up in the search function as well. So I can see here that Powlett River is EstuaryWatch, part of West Gippsland. So let's have a look at this estuary. So when you go into one estuary, you can see all of the sites that have been monitored. So for Powlett River, we can see that there are some inactive sites, and you can see that they're inactive because they weren't monitored. They haven't been monitored since 2013. So they've got a red label on them. But I can see here that site 2 on the Powlett is active, and the last time it was monitored was February 25. So let's have a look at this. So again, it looks very similar to the WaterWatch portal, and we can see that the data is really nicely charted on the right-hand side. Again, you can use the date button here to change the data and how it looks. We have the Explain for Me buttons for salinity and all of the parameters. What is dissolved oxygen pops up there. And I was just having a look. So this one doesn't have photos on it. I'm sorry to scroll so quickly. But what I might do is, I also want to show you that we do have the old function from the website, so where you can customize the charts. So before on the old website, you would just be shown a graph where you can choose your parameters and graph them against each other. And this is what you used to be able to see. So if you'd still like to use that function, that does exist there, and it's just under the Customize Charts button for each site. If you would like to see the river mouth condition, we can see that it is active here, and we've had people sending in reports since 2010 until recently in March. So let's have a look at our estuary mouth condition reports. So we can see the date, if it's closed, open, what way the flow is going, berm length and conditions. So this is actually really useful for our waterway managers as well when they're looking back at historical data. And if I go back to show you another really interesting point, we've got photo point sites for a lot of our estuaries. So we've had data here for over 10 years. And these are the photo point sites for our estuaries. And you can see that we've got these beautiful photos showing the estuary mouth. And there is a lot of data. There's a lot of photos there, and you can see my cursor's up over here. So it goes all the way down, so hundreds and hundreds of photos. Another function which was on the old website is the download data button. So this is now a new form that you need to fill in. So you'll need to put in your email address and your user type. And I've requested to have this on the website because it's really important for me to understand who's using the data and for what. And once you put your request in, the data will be sent to your email, and it can take a couple of minutes to get to your email. So you do need to be patient. And we do that so the server from CERDI doesn't crash. I'm just trying to think if I've covered off everything that I want to talk about. So maybe we can go, Zoe, are there any more questions that have come up?
Yes, firstly, I just wanted to check that everyone can see Justine's screen. We did have a question from Janet, or a comment that she can't see your screen.
Good.
All good? Perfect. Janet, can you see it now? She still can't. I might message you separately. But we did have another question from Nick, who has asked, does data have to have been reviewed before it appears on the site charts?
Yeah, it does, Nick. We have to, your local coordinators will review it. It's sort of like a QA/QC process. They have a look at your data, and then it sits with us pending, and then they physically have to go into it and check all of your data to make sure that it's all good to go. So yes, it is checked. Are there any other questions? So I guess we are almost at the end of this session. David, do you think that there's anything that I haven't spoken about on the website that you've that I haven't mentioned?
Yes, there is. Excuse me. There is, only because I'm a nerdy scientist. If you call up any of those, one of the sites there with the graphs.
Oh, yeah. WaterWatch?
Well, anything, doesn't matter. They're all the same.
Okay.
I think they've all got it. What it is that if you find the graphs, okay, not just keep going down, Justine, until you see the one with, there we go, this one here, which is, well, temperature, right?
Yeah.
You see the line that is drawn through temperature? It's sort of horizontal, it's going up slightly maybe.
Yeah.
That's the trend line that's been put in. I love trend lines. It gives you an idea what's happening in that system. Not so much for temperature, although that's interesting. It's going up in and the bottom is going down a little bit. But the trend lines can be really useful if there's a substantial one over a substantial period of time, like 10 years. It tells you a bit about, you know, how things are going. And in the shift in the climate that we have, we've seen that coming up quite a lot, that there's been a change in, for example, conductivity will be gradually increasing over time in many of the rivers and streams. And the estuaries, the lower flows might increase salinity, might do all sorts of things. But the main thing is you can see if it's what the trend is over time. And that's really natty, I think.
It is. Actually, you're right. Thank you for bringing that up. I don't think we've got any more questions, but I'd just like to really encourage you to hop onto the portal and the front-facing website. So, yeah, it's really easy to use. And if you can have a look for your local waterways or any areas that you're interested in and have a little dig around, and if you find anything that's unusual you think isn't quite right, please do get in contact. I'll pop my email in the chat. But yeah, we really want to hear from you and your experience because, yeah, we want this to be as best as it can be. So I can see Pam's got your hand up, so I'm going to try and unmute you. Pam, do you want to unmute yourself and ask a question?
How's that?
Perfect.
Yes, when I enter data onto the second page of the data entry of an EstuaryWatch site, it always comes up and tells me that I haven't downloaded the file, taken a photo or entered or uploaded it when I have, but it always says no file has been uploaded. So I'm just wondering why that happens.
And then, so are you able to submit your data?
Yeah.
But it's just got that
it just comes up in a sort of an orange bar saying data file has not been uploaded, just consistently.
Oh, well, that's annoying. I'll speak to Paul about that and see if I can get him to change that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Justine, we've just had another question from Nick come through. He said, "This looks great. Now, how do I get my coordinator to review our submissions?"
Oh, it's a big job. I think everybody is mostly on top of their submissions, and I know some areas have been behind. And for the regions that are behind, Nick, I think they're hiring somebody to help get them all through. So, yes, I think you'll be seeing your results very soon.
Great. And May has asked, how critical is it to upload our data sheet? Is it okay just to enter the data in without uploading the data sheet?
That is a really good question, May. We've been discussing this with other coordinators. So the data sheet is, for most of the coordinators, they feel like it's a really good way to double check your data. And that's a really good way to QA/QC that what you've put in is correct. But there's some coordinators who don't mind if you don't put your data sheet in. So I would suggest that you get in contact with your coordinator and just double check with them to see what their preference is.
Oh, sorry, Justine. Do you want to continue?
No, that was it.
So Ruth has asked, how do you add photos to data?
There is an upload photos button, Ruth, but I think what I might need to do is I can run a session with you on how to use the portal, and I'm just going to pop my email into I can run some sessions with anybody who's interested, and I can help you. I can show you how to do that, Ruth. Were there any other questions about the new website? I think there's not so many more questions. This has been a nice short walkthrough, but yeah, I really do encourage you to get in contact if you find out if there's anything that's not working quite right or you have any other suggestions. I really appreciate you dialing in and learning about the new websites. I feel like it's a great leap in the program and really love having the data charted there for everybody to see. Pam, I can see your hand is still up. I don't know. I think that might be from before, but I'll just. No, I think that's from an old question. All right. We might leave it there. And yeah, thanks again for dialing in. Please hop onto the websites and have a look around. I really want to hear what you think, and really appreciate you spending your lunchtime looking it through with us. So have a lovely day.
Thanks, Justine.
Thank you so much. Thanks, David, for presenting as well. That was very helpful.
Anytime.